Dinotracker was one of the most essential parts of the enjoyment of the wider world of Jurassic World Dominion. It featured plenty of scenes of dinosaurs walking around our everyday world and causing havoc. But we also know that there were plenty of scenes that were cut from this canonical website, some of which are much better than others. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Jurassic World Dominion video. In today's video, we'll be diverting our attention back to the recent installment of Jurassic and taking a closer look at Jurassic World Dominion, but more specifically, the Dinotracker website. A website that many fans absolutely adored and loved when it first came out, but sadly didn't get updated besides once after the launch of Jurassic World Dominion. This is a great shame, as I felt as though updating the website another year or two would have been very beneficial for fans to enjoy new content from the Jurassic universe without Universal having to fork out millions of dollars just to make something new. But oh well. We still got the producers behind Dinotracker giving us an insight on the process of making this website and even sharing some ideas that never made it past the drawing board. And that's what we'll be discussing in today's video. So once you're ready, enjoying your G Fuel after using code SWERVE, make sure you're sat back, relaxed, as it's time to learn of the deleted Dinotracker scene that can be reused in a future Jurassic World movie. Throughout the making of Dinotracker series that Terradome 3000 posted on his YouTube channel, we were given plenty of scenes that never made the final cut of the website, but one of these scenes drew my attention in particular. At the very start of part 3 of this short documentary, we were given some early design work of some eyewitness sketches made by Juraslav. Unfortunately, none of these got to see the light of day, despite how incredible they were, but one of them really piqued my curiosity. In this specific sketch, we get to see a cattle of bulls enclosed within a fence, with two large Carnotauruses staring at them, potentially seeking their next meal. In this sketch, you can only see their horns and eyes as the two most distinctive features. This makes the image absolutely terrifying, especially considering that this was supposed to be an eyewitness account. So, even just the thought that somebody has gone face to face with these dinosaurs and even survived to tell the tale is astounding. But why else is this important to me? Well, some people seem to be posing the question, what happens after Dominion? There's no more story to tell, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, because this franchise has been more open than ever and there's almost limitless potential storylines to follow now with dinosaurs on the mainland. You don't have to go big and continue to make big film after big film. I'm sure Universal want to, but you really don't have to. A short feature film can still release into cinemas and will do just as good, especially if it's much more down to earth. One thing that the majority of fans want is more horror. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom did very well with that, keeping us on the edge of our seats with some dark and twisted scenes of the Indoraptor. But we were sadly not given that in Dominion. So how can we create a new story filled with horror that's down to earth? By following Dinotracker. That's how. So let's try to build a potential story here. To keep this movie down to earth, we'll want to start small and have a small storyline, and maybe even match the vibe of A Quiet Place. Nothing major. We can have a cast of around only 3 characters, a family if you may. This family have been controlling their ranch for generations and have been keeping their farmland operational and the animals housed comfortably. However, in some recent nights, their young son has been seeing something strange lurking in the tree line just outside their lands, and the parents just assumed that he was telling lies or was seeing things, so they thought nothing of it. The movie can mainly follow the eyes of the child, as with children comes fear. Days go by as the child keeps looking out for what he saw, but he'd catch a very rare sighting of these large creatures. Only after a few weeks, the family started to notice that the cattle numbers are down by 1 or 2 cows, which they thought was rather odd. They suspected that somebody has been breaking in and stealing cattle at night, so the father decides to pull a all-night shift and sit in his chair watching the animals all night long. He accidentally falls asleep one night, but is woken up to the sound of crunching bones. Confused of what it was, he tries to look over the cattle as they all look towards him. He calls out saying, "Who's there?" when suddenly 2 massive, bull-like beasts raise their heads and stare directly at him. The man, startled by these appearances, stumbles back and drops his shotgun, accidentally setting it off. It spooks the two large creatures as they retreat back into the forest. The gunshot awoke the sleeping family as they ran out to see the commotion. The father is startled and scares his wife as he slurs his words and attempts to grab his shotgun again. They call the authorities the next day to explain exactly what they saw. But in this tiny village, the news of the dinosaur outbreak hasn't reached them quite yet. So the sheriff passed it on as fairy tale. However, it was his obligation to check it out the next night. As the night approached, the sheriff arrived at the ranch to check out the disturbance. At first, there was nothing to be seen, and he smirked, until suddenly, there was a rustle in the bush. Thinking it was some kids mucking around, the sheriff decided to investigate. The camera stays with the family as they watch and warn the sheriff about the potential danger. He enters the forest, but nothing initially happens. Then suddenly, the bushes rustle even more as screams of pain and terror bellow out from the officer. Then, silence. The family are dazed by what they just heard. Wasn't sure if they should approach or not. The father seemingly had enough of everything and went confidently with his shotgun, with his son following slowly behind. They found the wrangled dead body of the officer, arms torn off and 3 raptor-like claws scratching at his stomach. The mother calls out from afar if they see anything. The son turns around and begins to explain what they see when he is suddenly cut off by something he sees in the distance approaching his mother. He squints his eyes to try and get a better look, when it's almost too late. The mother feels the earth beneath her feet tremble as she turns around in fear. It was only a matter of seconds before a massive Carnotaurus snaps her up in its jaws. The son watches on in horror as the father hears the harrowing screams of his wife. He chases after in an attempt to save her, but it's no good. The Carnotaurus has taken her lifeless body into the surrounding forest. The father and son are in shock and have no idea what to do now. Taking charge, the man, filled with rage, yells at his son to get inside and get their landmines out. They go across the land and place down the landmines, one of which was directly next to the carcass of the cow they ate yesterday. Seeking refuge in their cabin, they eagerly await the return of the Carnotaurus. Hours pass by as they have an emotional heart-to-heart about their recent loss, when suddenly they hear a dinosaur approaching. They keep watch and witness the Carnotaurus eating the carcass, but no explosion to their confusion. The man sets off his shotgun to spook the dinosaur, causing it to flinch and step on the landmine, blowing it up instantly into pieces. After inspection, the man and son cheer in delight as one of the 2 creatures are now dead. Alerted to the noise, the other one approaches them, narrowly missing the child as it knocks him onto the ground. The Carnotaurus turns around, staring directly into the eyes of the kid, about to take his life. The man sees what's about to happen and does everything in his power to alert the attention of this creature. The Carnotaurus changes his focus and then charges at the man instead. The son's eyes widen as he now sees that his father is holding a landmine and the dinosaur is approaching him. Mouthing out one final "I love you," whilst tears filled his eyes, the man doesn't take his eyes off his son. The Carnotaurus approaches and is about to devour the man when he sets off the landmine, blowing himself up and the dinosaur's head as well, killing them both instantly. The child goes through yet something else that's very traumatic. Once again in shock, he stands in pain by the door of the cabin, where his father's shotgun laid by his feet. As he looks down at the gun, you can hear faintly in the background the TV on the news channel reporting an outbreak of dinosaurs across the world. The camera pans down to the gun as he picks it up. Following the gun, the camera stays on the child as he looks to set out to avenge his parents. The news article in the background slowly gets louder as we hear more stories coming in from across the world. The anger on the child's face grows more and more, then cut. And the movie can end right there and then. Of course, this ending is only left open if Universal ever want to take something from it and set up a future with this character potentially being a bad guy and poaching these dinosaurs in his later years. But who knows? This is just a thought I always had, and I think it's about time I share it, as I really hope Universal will look into making these kind of things even more. Nothing too crazy or in depth, but this is just an outline of what Dinotracker can bring to the big screen. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this story I created. I have a lot more ideas, so if this gets a positive reception, then I'd love to potentially even make a series out of this. So comment your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new. But most importantly, make sure you're all staying safe out there, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.
Hello, hi, you. Did you enjoy the video? Just a little reminder to press that like button and also subscribe. I just want to thank my Patreons for this month on screen right here, as giving me that little extra support really does go a long way. But anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day.